Before I start my story, I want to make it clear that I don't believe in the paranormal. I'm a skeptical of anything supernatural, but that doesn't stop me from enjoying the stories people tell me about their experiences. My family and I moved a lot throughout my life, and nothing strange has ever really happened in all the places I've lived. That all changed though with our most recent move. To give you some sense of setting, we built our house in the middle of the woods on a mountain that overlooked the valley below us. It's a beautiful sight, and to this day, I will often go and admire the view. One thing I should mention about my house is that there are large windows everywhere. My parents made it this way so we can enjoy the scenery and get some natural light in. Although I loved seeing nature, it often made me uneasy whenever night would fall and I could only see the pitch black darkness. We didn't have any curtains either, so I couldn't just cover them up. My first story happened a few months after we moved in. My parents were out on a date, leaving my 3 siblings and me home alone. It was all going smoothly, and it seemed like an ordinary Wednesday afternoon, and later that night we started the drive to our weekly church activity. My 18-year-old brother stayed behind because he was too old to go to these activities, but about 10 minutes into our drive, he called my older sister. One thing about my older brother is that he is a no-nonsense guy, and it took a lot to intimidate him, considering he stood at 6'3". My sister put the phone on speaker, and my brother proceeded to ask if we had left yet. We all looked at each other kind of confused, and my older sister responded by saying that we had left a while ago, and we were already almost at the church. He paused for a moment before he spoke again, asking if my youngest sister was in the car. Once again, we said we were all here, and I asked him if something was wrong. In the calmest voice, my brother proceeded to tell us what had happened, and to this day, I'm surprised at how unbothered he seemed. This is what he told us. My brother's room was one of the biggest rooms in the house, as it was our game room that took up half of the upstairs. He was playing a game on his Xbox when he heard the sounds of muffled talking from downstairs. My brother was confused, considering he thought we had already left, but quickly shrugged it off. But after a few more seconds, he had the sudden urge to go check it out, and he paused his game. His door opened up to the top of the stairs, and a wall blocked the view of the kitchen so that he couldn't really see into it. He said the voice sounded like a little girl, and he assumed it was my youngest sister talking to the dogs. My brother said he couldn't understand what she was saying as it was too muffled for him to hear, which was strange, considering my sister is very loud. He said he called her name, but there was no answer, and the muffled talking continued. Frustrated by the lack of response, he called her name again, and much more forcefully this time, and started making his way downstairs. My brother told us he stopped when he heard the sounds of bare footsteps running across the hardwood floor, and it sounded as if the person was running to my parents' room. But when he rounded the corner, there was no one there, and my 2 dogs, a golden retriever and a German shepherd, were looking where my brother thought he had heard the footsteps. My brother said he looked around the house, found no trace of anyone, and even called our names multiple times. He thought we were pranking him, and that's when he called us. I remember feeling slightly unnerved when he finished, and I asked him if he was messing with us. He swore he wasn't before he hung up the phone, brushing off the experience as if it wasn't a big deal. As I said, I don't believe in the supernatural, and if my brother wasn't messing with us, I was concerned that a person was living in our house. When we got home, my brother told our parents what had happened, and they immediately searched the crawl space. The entrance was in my parents' closet, so it would make sense that someone would run to their room. But there was nothing down there, and soon enough, we all forgot about it. Over the next year, nothing too big would happen, except the occasional doors opening and closing by themselves. Though I always blame that on the drafts of the house. It was near the end of the school year, and summer was about to begin. My 2 closest friends had saved up enough money to fly to my state and visit me for a couple of weeks, and I was ecstatic about seeing them again. I had tons of fun showing them many things my state had to offer, and I asked if they wanted to spend a night at my house. They both hurriedly agreed, and the day of the sleepover was set. At this time, I shared a room with my younger sister, so there were 2 twin-sized beds in my room, and I figured they could just sleep in those beds, and I could sleep on the carpet. When they came to my house, we joked around and drove side by side around the property. It wasn't too long before night approached. We were all sitting in my room talking about something I couldn't remember when we heard the tapping. Our conversation quickly stopped, and the other 2 girls quickly got freaked out. I only laughed as I saw their expressions and quickly joked that it was probably a ghost. They didn't like that, as they believed in the paranormal. And they searched around my room to see where the tapping was coming from. I helped them look as I was curious, as I'd never heard this sound before. We discovered that it was coming from the far left corner of my room, and by that time the tapping had stopped. My friends had determined that I was the investigator, and they told me to tap on various objects in my room to see if I could replicate the noise. I hit many things in my room, but none of it sounded like the soft taps from earlier. And one of my friends suggested that I tap the wall. To my surprise, it was the exact match to the sound, and they got even more scared at the discovery. I hurriedly tried to comfort them, saying it was probably a woodpecker. This was when I was getting a bit skeptical, considering the wall it was coming from was connected to my bathroom, and I knew there was no way a woodpecker would be able to hit it from that side. That's when I realized, though, my younger sister was probably just pranking us, and I went into the bathroom to investigate. I wasn't surprised when my sister wasn't in there, and I figured she had gone downstairs to hide. When I finally found her, she was sitting downstairs in the living room watching a show on her phone, petting one of the dogs. I interrogated her about the tapping noises, but she only looked at me strangely and brushed me off. When I asked her about it again, she looked at me in annoyance and told me to leave her alone, and that she had better things to do than tap on my wall. At this point, I was getting a bit nervous, but I went back to the bathroom and tried to find anything that would make that tapping. But I found nothing, and went to join my friends in the other room again. Though when I went, my friends were wide-eyed and were huddled together in the furthest corner of my room. I questioned them about what they were doing, and they just said that when I went downstairs, they heard the tapping again, but it stopped when I went to the bathroom. I want to clarify that there was no rain or wind, and the fan in my room was turned off. I tried to lighten the mood by just saying if it were a ghost, maybe it was trying to communicate with us. I sat on the twin bed pressed against the wall and joked, saying that perhaps it was speaking in Morse code. Right after I said that, the tapping started up again, only louder. My friends were afraid, but I was still unbothered and continued to mess around. Finally, after a while, I said, "If there is someone here, tap the wall faster." When the words escaped my mouth, the tapping sped up, and we all froze. My friends screamed and rushed downstairs, and I quickly followed them, feeling freaked out. I tried to play it off like it was just a coincidence, but they didn't buy it. And at this point, a small part of me didn't buy it either. We stayed in my living room for a couple of hours until I told everyone that I was going to sleep, ghost or not. At first, they didn't want to come back up with me, but I said that if it were a spirit that wanted to murder me, it would have killed me in my sleep a long time ago. No one wanted to sleep in the bed closest to the wall, so my friend shared my bed while I slept on the ground. We heard no more tapping that night, and I quickly fell into a deep sleep. Following morning, my friends told me what they had experienced that night, and to this day, I still don't know if I believe them. According to them, my closet door slowly opened sometime in the night. I have to admit that this has never happened before. My main door always tended to open and close by itself, but my closet door never did, and to this day, I've never seen it happen. Only one of them was awake, but she quickly woke the other girl up. It probably didn't help that my closet was only a few feet ahead of their bed. They said the whole night it would slowly open and close, and none of them dared to move the entire night. They even said a shadowed hand appeared in the window, which was when they woke me up. The strange thing is, I don't really remember them waking me up. They told me when they shook me awake and explained the situation to me, I only said, "Don't worry, the demon will eat me first, go back to sleep," and then I passed out. After they finished their story, I didn't believe them. I figured they must have been too freaked out from last night, and the paranoia got to their heads. After that, we had breakfast, and they returned to their apartment. They said that my house was haunted and that they were never going to sleep in here again. I haven't had any problems in my room since. Well, other than the occasional feeling that I'm being watched. I turn on my lights and fall back asleep when that happens. Other things have happened in the house, ranging from strange noises to immense feeling that someone is behind you. I honestly do wonder if my friends saw something that night, or if they were just messing around. But I want to know, what do you guys think?